You know, some stories are just so wild, so unbelievable, you have to wonder if they're actually real. Well, get ready, because the one we're about to dive into is exactly that.
Okay, so let's just rip the Band-Aid off and answer the big one right away. Did this really happen? The answer is absolutely 100% yes. And what you're about to hear is a true story that's going to flip everything you think you know about human nature completely on its head. All right, let's set the scene. We're going back to 1965, to the island kingdom of Tonga. And our story is all about 6 teenage boys who were, well, they were bored, fed up with school, restless, and just dreaming of a real adventure.
I mean, you know how it is when you're a teenager, right? You can feel a little trapped, and that's exactly how they felt. So they cooked up this grand plan to just escape it all. Ditch the boring school desks, find a beach, and have the adventure of a lifetime.
So their plan, well, plan is a generous word. They were so unprepared, it's almost funny. It was pure impulse. They decided to, let's say, borrow a small boat from a fisherman they weren't too fond of. But get this, no map, no compass, and for food, just a couple of bananas and coconuts. I mean, talk about a recipe for disaster.
And just like that, their dream of freedom just smacks right into the cold, hard reality of the ocean. Their big adventure? Yeah, it was about to become a desperate fight for survival.
On the very first night, a massive storm just rolls in out of nowhere. The wind completely shreds their sail. The waves snap their rudder clean off. Suddenly, they're just powerless, bobbing around, totally adrift in this huge, unforgiving ocean.
For 8 days. Just try to imagine that. 8 terrifying days, just drifting. They had pretty much no food, no fresh water, and not a speck of land anywhere. The only thing keeping them going was catching a little bit of rainwater to share. With every single day that passed, you can bet that hope was getting harder and harder to hold on to.
And then, on that 8th day, right at the moment they were about to give up all hope, they saw it, this tiny little speck on the horizon. It turned out to be a rugged, uninhabited island called Ada. And this little piece of rock in the middle of nowhere, it was their one and only chance.
Okay, so they actually make it to the island. And this, right here, is where the story takes a turn you would never expect. I mean, if you've ever read Lord of the Flies, you're probably picturing total chaos, right? Fights, savagery. But what these boys did, it was the complete opposite.
They didn't just scrape by, they built a community. Seriously? They made a deal to work together, setting up schedules for everything, gardening, cooking, even guard duty. They built shelters as a team. They kept a fire going 24/7. And maybe, the smartest rule of all, if anyone had an argument, they had to separate and take a time out until they calmed down. So simple, but so incredibly effective.
And we're not talking about a couple of weeks here. They lived like this for 15 months. That's more than a year. 6 teenagers all alone on a deserted island, holding their little society together and never, ever giving up hope.
So after 15 incredibly long months, the world, which by the way had completely given them up for dead, was about to get the shock of its life. Their unbelievable ordeal was finally about to be over.
It all happened because of an Australian fishing captain, a guy named Peter Warner. He's sailing past Ata and sees something weird through his binoculars, these burned patches on the cliffs. So he looks closer, and suddenly he sees this boy, long hair, no clothes, just leap off a cliff right into the ocean. Then 5 more follow him. Now Warner knew this island was supposed to be uninhabited. His first thought? He was seeing ghosts.
So when they finally got home, people didn't see them as poor victims. No way. They were treated like absolute heroes. They had done the impossible, and the only reason they made it was because they stuck together. Their bond, their friendship, was stronger than ever. They were completely unbroken. And this is really the heart of it, why their story matters so much. It's this incredible, real-life answer to one of the most famous fictional stories about being stranded that has ever been written.
I'm talking, of course, about Lord of the Flies. Most of us had to read it in school, right? It's that classic, super dark story where a bunch of schoolboys get stranded and just turn on each other. They become savage. It's a really pessimistic view of what people are really like.
And the difference between that story and this one, it couldn't be more black and white. In the book, you get savagery and fear, but in the real world, on the island of Ata Ana, You get a working society built on cooperation and hope. This true story is maybe the single best argument against that dark, fictional version of humanity.
So you see, what these boys pulled off was so much more than just survival. Those 15 months on Atta became living, breathing proof of what we're really like when we're pushed to the absolute edge.
In the end, their story tells us something kind of radical, doesn't it? That when you strip everything away, our default setting isn't to be monsters. It suggests we actually become more human when we have to lean on each other. It proves that our greatest strengths aren't being selfish or trying to dominate. It's kindness, it's community, and it's hope. It really leaves you with a big question, what are we really capable of when we choose to work together instead of fighting?